Hey people, it's me again. So, anyways, I'm doing my mid-afternoon walk. So, as I kind of just stated earlier on my last video blog, that there was all these little things that were going on, But I think what I've simply had tried everything to kind of to win them back, but I think at this time it's kind of like maybe I will, in a way, but I think in some ways that I have to, own up to my own mistakes, and take responsibility for my actions, but I haven't really gotten used to doing that kind of stuff because it was always, everybody was bailing me out, even if I didn't want them to bail me out in some ways, That's where this sort of thing had gone into, that where I just simply jumped off conclusions and jumped off little things, simply because of other stuff, But the thing is that I had to kind of keep this sort of open dialogue with him and all of that, and even though he doesn't really want to hear from me just right now, but I think at this point it's kind of like that I just had to kind of let it sit, let him digest what I now said to him and all this and all that, and what I told any friend about this or that, I think the truth is that I never felt this way about anybody before, although I felt that way with Eloy, the actor, we're using air quotes again, but that was just simply the hormones were talking, And then I think as far as with Josh, I think that maybe I was really in love with him at that time, And it took me I think it just took me a while to kind of get over Josh in a way, and I think I ended up messing up that sort of relationship with him on account of when Eloy turned me down that one time, But I think it was not that it was ever really going to happen because I was already planning on moving on from Eloy, because he just wasted my time instead of just simply just going out right when I was still interested in him, but he just simply waited until the last minute, and then I was just so pissed off at him for that, and that I kind of basically caused that sort of rift and all of that sort of thing with all the friends there. I basically broken up with all of them, except Josh for that matter, because I still talked to him from time to time, at least he was letting me talk to him from time to time, but I don't think anything would have mattered, because he's over in Texas and I'm in California, So, anyways, as I kind of said before, it's just a matter of me owing to my own mistakes instead of just running around blaming everything and everybody but myself for that. And then have it at least later on should have admitted to that all along, that as far as this goes, But it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny now that I kind of finally have gotten all the air cleared, now it's just I just have to wait. I have to wait as far as Drew calling me or texting me at some point, what if it's about within a few hours or a few days or a few weeks, I guess, for him to say what he wanted to do with me, for if he still wanted to give it another shot with me, or what if he just wanted me to take a hike and that sort of thing, So either way, it was fine, to tell the truth, I guess. I mean, I feel like I'm okay with all of that, but I think the primary reason I didn't want to let go of Drew at this point while the drama with him was at its peak about a couple weeks ago was the fact that I didn't really want to give up or run away from a potential relationship simply because there was some sort of problem, a huge problem that arose there, especially if it was just the first big problem that I had with Drew there. Although I had this other little minor bump there around the time in July of last year where I think he was kind of, in some ways, maybe he just wanted his space a little bit or wanted me to back off a little bit, because I don't know what it was, maybe he just had other things having to deal with and just wasn't really ready to deal with just yet, that sort of stuff, Although, I guess I could just say as far as not just the fact that I felt so much for him, but I think there was a lot of things that I had in common with him and that I had all these, shared experiences with him, as far as all the hardships, as far as in my life, that he had some similar hardships, And I'm not going to really go into specifics about the hardships, because it's a little bit too touchy, so. Anyways, as I was kind of saying, the next plan of action is just simply leaving him alone and letting all the whole dust settle as far as that goes. But I guess I could say it's just one of those little things that I had to do eventually with all these sort of guys there, that owing up to whatever mistakes that I have actually had done, if it was pretty much my fault entirely. But the fact is, most of these sort of problems were merely caused by me, for pretty much 99 or 95 or 95 to 99% of the time. That it was about earlier today, I think, where I kind of simply had told another guy that that I was going to let him go, because and I don't feel bad because I love somebody else, and that I can take a hit from that, So I think everything is probably resolved there, as far as that goes. So it's kind of like the weird things how, I don't know if it's always this time of year that we always do these things, about resolving all these little conflicts because summer is around the corner and that we want to basically celebrate the whole summer without having any kind of conflicts and all this sort of stuff, and then come right back to it once the fall starts up again, that sort of thing, But I guess it was just a lot of those dreams that I was having the other day, was all about the transitions in my life, and I was starting to begin all these little transitions and things, I had this one dream the other day that I don't know if I was actually riding into his car, but I don't think he was actually in his car, but I think I was confessing to one of his family members that I actually loved him and wanted to be with him, So, anyways, as I was kind of saying about that, and then the other dream was going to the airport, and then before my flight before I was going to check into my flight, that I stopped by at the airplane or the airport's museum, and then I don't know I don't think I really saw anything else as far as that goes in that dream, but as far as airports, what they symbolize in dreams, that it's always the life's journey ahead for you, all the little changes and stuff when you're beginning or ending some sort of journey, because especially what we use them for, to go places as far as our journeys in life. And I think it was always in life. There's always several journeys, and then we never really go through life without one journey or another. At least whether if it was just an actual journey like that or a mental or emotional journey. But I think as far as how I've grown in the past 5 years, I've done a lot more in the past 5 years than I've done in the past 10 years, And I've already kind of stated several times about how the real reason I didn't evolve so much at that time during the first half during the first 2 years of the decade, and was simply because of that I was having all that pressure. It was just really, really strange, that on one hand I'm being pressured and pushed to succeed and so forth, but at the same time being held back because I'm not ready to do these sort of things, and yet it is almost like, which is it? Which is it? Are you gonna push me ahead or hold me back? That sort of thing. So, as I was kind of stating, I think that sometimes that I have to at least learn how to ask the right questions before I can get the right answers, to that. And then throughout the time that everyone was asking people that weren't necessarily involved, they just simply told me to kind of move on, which is kind of stupid to tell the truth. Just because it was just one big misunderstanding as far as that goes, and then here I was being told at least 2 or 3 times that that's best for me to move on from it, and instead of just work it out, But then I don't know what has become of everything about how we just abandon things just because it starts to get complicated or get messy, along the road. But then some of these things happen, As I kind of said, it's as you could tell, the road that I'm standing on is all windy, and it goes up and down, Life is full of these kind of things, and if it weren't for that, it was just had a straight line, no dips or valleys or peaks or twists and turns and all these other things, it'll just be utterly boring to most people. To most people, that sort of thing would just be utterly boring. to drive a road that has no peaks or valleys, no dips or bumps or twists and turns, you know. But then for those people who probably love that kind of road, they're just being unrealistic. They're just being unrealistic and just have simply, I don't know what it is, you know, or they're just completely unable to deal with the life's twists and turns and all this sort of stuff, you know. I was also going around saying that not just only owning up to those mistakes, but it was also having to at least accept these kind of things as they come, even if I was never really prepared for it. Prepared for all these little things, and I had to kind of take such things as a grain of salt, you know. Although some people would say it's just better to kind of like do that rather than move on, and when all the problems arise because they were just being a little bit selfish or being a wuss about it, you know. So now it's like I'm starting to kind of grow a little bit more, I guess, as a person in some ways. And I think as far as for people like me with the whole Asperger's, you know, it probably takes us a little bit while longer to do these kind of things, you know, to grow more a little bit socially aware, because nobody ever really taught us how to behave and how to interact with people, you know. But I think the thing is that we needed to learn all these kind of stuff the same way how we learn history and science and all these other subjects, that we had to learn it through that way rather than just simply just intuition and experience and all of that sort of thing, that we just had to learn it intellectually in that way, as far as that goes, instead of experience, you know, or intuition. But as I was kind of stating earlier, that the other reason I'm pretty much had closed all this sort of drama, at least part of it for now, and owing up to all these little mistakes, is the fact that it's school, and that I've already signed up for a class, you know, and it's already going to be starting in about a few days from now, you know, and then I just kind of want to start within and like have all these other little issues and stuff like that resolved, you know, and then once I'm like finished with it, then I could probably go back and see where I left off, you know. And after all, that's kind of one of the things that I kind of realized as far as with any kind of relationship, that I have to at least give in as well as take, and I have to also give back to them, and I have to learn to accept the guys for who they are in some ways, you know, instead of just running around crying to mom and dad how they're not really exactly what I wanted and all that sort of stuff, you know, and then the fact is, here I wanted some guy to accept me for me, you know, and they're not doing that in return, which would have been really stupid, you know. And as far as like the whole thing that I kind of knew what I did wrong as far as with the previous one, I kind of expected too much from Ricky, you know, and that I expected him to kind of go to at least come in and after all this sort of stuff was done, you know, and then when I simply should have just come out and done this sort of stuff there in the first place. Because here I was the one who started the the whole thing going, you know, by giving him my number, and then here I didn't really did all those kind of stuff as I should have done because I was a little bit hesitant, and then here I just kind of got back from living in Dallas, and I just got back home, just ready to sell things in, you know, and but then again, I could have just simply just waited around and all that if I had to, but I didn't necessarily have to go around and with him anyways, you know. But I kind of wanted to because in some ways I just didn't want to go around and mope over Eloy or Josh, for that matter. You know, even though now it's like I'm kind of completely over them. But then, you know, it's like I said, I kind of should have expected this sort of thing to happen with any of those type of relationships as far as twists and turns. And I think I had one of those big twists and turns was Matt, you know. As I kind of stated so many times before, you know, that to make a long story short, that he probably would have had a chance with me if he just waited a while till I could try to see what he saw in me. But I think in some ways he didn't really have that much to offer to me back, other than that he just liked me, and that maybe his intentions for me weren't really true, you know. Here he acted like he wanted to date me, but then when in reality maybe he just wanted to sleep with me, you know. Which I'm okay with, like, guys just solely want that. I just wish they would have been a little bit more honest enough to say that they just wanted to sleep with me, or wanted to be my fuck buddy, or just wanted to date me, or whatnot, or just wanted to be my friend, that sort of thing. But I just go all these little problems like that in the first place, you know. Not that I ever really had any problems telling guys what I wanted to do with them, you know. Not that I had any kind of problems, it was just simply the other way around, you know. So, anyways, I guess I probably should end this, you know, because of the dog, and I'm already starting to get all sleepy, you know. So, anyways, till next time, people.